Yo, what is good, Sixer Nation? Welcome on in to another edition of Philly Take with RB. Back with the Sixers off-season coverage. And of course, it is drama-filled. We have a lot to get into. The coaching candidate search. James Harden, will he stay? Will he go? A whole lot more. The Sixers looking to start interviewing candidates this week. Is their guy out there right now? Can they secure one of the best coaches on the market? We will get into all of it. We will break it down here on Philly Take with RB. Hit the like button if you're out there, man. Sixer Nation, stand up. Because even through the good and bad, we still find a way to push through. Let's go, man. I'm pumped. I'm pumped, man. The newest name on the board is Nick Nurse, and you know the rumors are circulating. You know that there is always going to be some drama when it comes to the Philadelphia 76ers. I want to talk about my specific coaching candidate list. This is the first time we are going to actually get into my list. I had waited on purpose for this show. I was going to do it later this week because I wanted some time to kind of think about this and, also look up some things regarding the candidates. But with the newest report today from Adrian Wojnarowski, there was no better time than to hop on here and start talking about the coaching candidate search. We will get into all of it. We'll break down the pros, the cons of some of the top candidates. Sixer Nation, I want to know from you out there, who should the Sixers hire to be their next head coach? Who are your top candidates? What is your list looking like as of right now? We will even open the phone lines later on. We'll get a couple callers in to break it all down and chime in on the conversation. Shout out to the channel members in the chat, always supporting, going above and beyond. Guys, be sure to follow the page on Instagram, follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, all the different ways that you can support the show and be a part of the community. Be sure to do that. Shout out to Philly Gang up in here. Tuis, what's up? Ping Boy, what's up? Shout out to all the members in the house. Tonight's show presented by Manta Sleep. Go get your Manta Sleep Mask Pro. Stop sitting awake at night wondering what the Sixers are going to do with their head coach vacancy. Block out all the distractions, man. Go get your Manta Sleep Mask Pro. Go down to the description. Click the link. Use promo code Philly. Take it 10% off of your order. All right, Sixer Nation, how are we feeling, man? How are we feeling? Just another start to a week and a lot of drama. A lot of drama. Pete, what's going on, man? Jamie, Slack, Tyrese, Maxey, Tuis in the house, Clinton, Tyler, Hoosler, what's up? Young Das, Ping Boy, Eco, Gary, what's up? Speed Demon, my guy, what's up? Kason, what's up? Max, what's up? S-Dot, what's up? Random Gamer. Shout out to everybody out there in the crowd tonight. So we need to start off with the newest report out of Adrian Wojnarowski. This coming out earlier today. According to Woj, ESPN sources say that the Milwaukee Bucks are now narrowing their group of candidates. The Bucks are working quickly in the franchise's head coaching search. Number one on the list, Nick Nurse. Number two on the list, Golden State assistant Kenny Atkinson. And number three, Toronto's assistant Adrian Griffin. These coaches will be part of the final conversations with the Milwaukee leadership this week. Why does this impact the Sixers? Well, because the Sixers are also expected to be interviewing with Nick Nurse this week. I knew as soon as he had gotten fired that his name would be circulating quickly. I knew he would easily have another job. The question is, where does he want to go? Where does he want to go? Where does Nick Nurse want to be after being fired from the Toronto Raptors, an organization in which he won an NBA championship? Now, more on this. Adrian Wojnarowski says Nick Nurse looms prominently in Phoenix and Philadelphia searches as well. Now, notice he didn't talk about the other candidates. No, he talked about Nick Nurse. Adrian Wojnarowski said Nick Nurse is looming prominently. Why do he mention Nick Nurse? I'll tell you why. Because Nick Nurse is who the Bucks have on their radar, right? Of course, they're going to mention 3 names, but Nick Nurse is the top candidate right now for the Bucks, the Phoenix Suns, and the Philadelphia 76ers. And I'm here to tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, the Sixers cannot waste any time. They need to act quick. They need to go out there and wow Nick Nurse. They need to hire him, and I will talk about why, but I want to hear from the people out there, man. Chime in. Who should the Sixers' next head coach be? Who should the next head coach be? Here is my coaching list. RB Sixer coaching candidate list. A lot of people like it. A lot of people don't like it. It is what it is. Number 1 on my list is Nick Nurse. Number 2, Monty Williams. Number 3, Mike Budenholzer, Sam Cassell, Frank Vogel, and Mike D'Antoni. Essentially, I took the 6 names that were rumored to be interest from the Sixers, and I ranked them in order. Nick Nurse is number 1 on my list. Why is Nick Nurse number 1 on my list? Well, here's the difference in my opinion. Nick Nurse won a championship very early in his head coaching career, and then he has not been able to work with a championship roster ever since. To me, that is the difference. Now, I like Monty Williams. I have him number 2. I'm a big fan of Monty. And when you look at the Phoenix Suns, obviously Monty Williams has not been treated well over the last couple of months, especially with how that whole situation played out. But I'm here to tell you, I don't think that's really his fault. Monty Williams has a former Coach of the Year award. Monty Williams went to the NBA Finals. He was up 2-0 before they lost. Now, the loss against the Dallas Mavericks, Monty Williams, I mean, there's a lot of blame on him for that. And that's going to be a bad spot on his coaching career, on his track record until it is, made up for, right? A lot of coaches have bad spots like that. That is definitely a mark on Monty Williams when they got blasted by the Dallas Mavs in Game 7 of the second round. And, he just has to live with it. But Monty Williams has been here. He knows Philadelphia. He was an assistant coach. And when you look at the Phoenix Suns, I mean, this year they didn't have enough depth. Kevin Durant slips on a wet spot. They didn't have time to build that chemistry. So I don't think the Suns were going to win anything. Originally, I said, oh my gosh, this team has so much star talent, but chemistry is a real thing. I think you have to have stars to win, but I think at the end of the day, you have to have that time to build that winning mentality. But back to Nick Nurse, he hasn't had any stars to work with. Nick Nurse hasn't had anybody because when he won the championship, they lost Kawhi Leonard in free agency. And what did the Toronto Raptors do? They went out and they overpaid their championship players, which deservedly so, right? I mean, they won the chip, but Kawhi Leonard was the real deal. And when Kawhi Leonard left, the Raptors and Masai Ujiri, the guy who fired Nick Nurse, who is a great GM, has never gotten them back into championship roster contention. You're telling me Pascal Siakam can be the number 1 on a championship team. You're telling me that Fred VanVleet deserves the contract that he got. I think it's apparent as day, that he did. Now, they have nice young talent. They have nice swings. They have OG Anunoby. They have Scotty Barnes. They have guys that can develop, but let's be honest, they're not good enough to be a championship roster. And that is why I think Nick Nurse needs to come to Philadelphia, because he can finally coach with a star, again, in Joel Embiid. In fact, he can coach the star that he knows exactly how to blueprint. Nick Nurse knows how to stop Joel Embiid, so he's the guy that can get the most out of him. He has seen every Joel Embiid coverage. He has studied him, I'm sure, for hours on tape, played him in a playoff series. Nick Nurse knows what needs to be done, and he can help Joel against all these little things. The other reason I like Nick Nurse, other than being a crazy X's and O's guy, is that he's a crazy personality. The guy is not afraid to stand up and get on somebody's ass. We're going to talk about it later here in the show, but there are literally documented articles where Nick Nurse has had a closed-door meeting and ripped his players. He is not afraid. He's not afraid to do things unconventional. He's not afraid to rip into his players. And I think you can build that respect and get the most out of him. The Sixers needed a guy like that in Game 6 or Game 7. No offense to Doc Rivers. They needed somebody to break a clipboard over their head with the way that they were playing. And Nick Nurse is the guy to do that. Also, I don't know if anybody out there knows this, but Nick Nurse hasn't only won a championship on the NBA level. Did you know that Nick Nurse won a championship, not in the G League, but in the D League? Nick Nurse, back in 2012, won an NBA or won a D League championship with the Rio Grande Valley Vipers. The Rio Grande Valley Vipers. The D League of which NBA team? The Houston Rockets. Guess who was running the team at the time? Daryl Morey. The links are there. The connections are there. Daryl Morey essentially was the boss at one time of Nick Nurse for a little time. And Nick Nurse has won on that level. He won on the D League level. Then he won on the NBA level. The guy has been around winning. If you listen to him talk, he's even wrote a book. He knows how to, practice certain shooting methods. He knows how to, utilize certain drills that have not been utilized much. He's very crafty. He thinks outside the box. And that is why I like Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse thinks outside the box. He's not going to do everything the same way, the same vanilla way, the entire series. And then, just run it into the ground and say, it is what it is. Now, I know he got fired from Toronto, and a lot of the, beef with Nick Nurse is that he overplayed his stars. He didn't use all the guys on the roster. But again, I would argue that he didn't have much at his disposal. Now, you could also say, the Philadelphia 76ers at the same time, need to improve the roster. And I agree 100%. You put Nick Nurse with this exact roster, he's not probably going to get much more out of them. But, that comes after. You have to get the brilliant mind in here first. And, man, it would be nice to see the Sixers with some of these defensive pressures, up front on the perimeter. I've seen Nick Nurse multiple times, go out there and double team, triple team Joel Embiid, James Harden. He just does little quirky things, to try to get guys off balance. He knows how to come up with game plans against stars. So really, that's why I like Nick Nurse. I think he would actually be a great hire for the Philadelphia 76ers. And yeah, I think he presents more than the other candidates. I go back to the list, man. The reason that I have Mike Budenholzer above Sam Cassell is because of the direction of the team. I think the Philadelphia 76ers are going to lean towards upgrading the roster, trying to bring James Harden back, and trying to win next year. Now, if the Sixers decided to go into a retool or rebuild, I think that maybe the guy for the job would be Sam Cassell. But when you're trying to get the most out of a team and you feel like you're on that limit, right? And it's like, okay, you got maybe one or two more chances here, maybe none at this point. But if you want to try to maybe trade Tobias and get some more depth and get a better bench and go in, you need a guy with experience. That's why I have Mike Budenholzer at number 3, because I think the Philadelphia 76ers are going to try to essentially run it back and try to add as much as they can given their limited flexibility. So Mike Budenholzer is well respected. He's won a championship. I will argue, though, Mike Budenholzer has had seasons where, he's had a great regular season and then he crumbles in the playoffs and he doesn't adjust well, kind of like this year, which is why he was on the burner. The Sixers need to act quick. If Nick Nurse gets into that Milwaukee locker room and he starts interviewing and he starts talking to Giannis and getting his hands dirty with all this film and all that stuff, I'm afraid that Nick Nurse isn't going to leave Milwaukee without a job. So they need to act quick, man. Whenever they interview him, hopefully it's before Milwaukee, they need to wow him. They need to give him the keys to the office. They need to give him the suite. They need to give him free cheesesteaks for however long he's here, man. Whatever it takes, the Sixers need to go out and wow Nick Nurse. That's my take on it. Number 4, Sam Cassell. Number 5, Frank Vogel. Mike D'Antoni's on the bottom of the list because, again, I do not want to run back any more of the Philadelphia Rockets. I don't want to run back any more of the Rockets. I feel like Mike D'Antoni would really start to cater this team around James Harden if he was to come back. And if James Harden comes back, again, I would think about maybe a 2-year with a player option. But if you saw the video yesterday, there's no way Daryl Morey can think about paying James Harden $50 million a year. So Mike D'Antoni's on the bottom of my list. So yeah, those are my reasonings for Nick Nurse. Again, all these guys have pros and cons. There's no perfect candidate. However, I definitely want a guy who has won. And Nick Nurse has done that, and I don't think he has had the ability to coach another championship-level roster since the year he won the championship. And I think the Sixers have a star that Nick Nurse could get along with. I know Joel Embiid told him to stop you-know-what, and they were barking back and forth. And you know what, Nick Nurse, I've hated him, especially after that playoff series. But if he was the coach of the Sixers, let's be honest, everybody in Wells Fargo would be loving him crying to the refs all game long. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Everybody would be backing up Nick Nurse as he's complaining for calls. Also, once again, man, my question to the people out there, has Nick Nurse been put in the best situation with a good roster to win the chip since the Raptors left? I don't think so. I don't think so. He's very smart, man. He wrote a book. There's a lot more on that. A lot more on that. Let's get to the super chat. Kenny the Jet Smith, my guy, channel member. Shout out to Kenny. He says, if the Sixers want to take advantage of this small window and win, then Nick Nurse. But if they decide to blow it up, I like Kenny Atkinson. Interesting take. What do we think about Kenny Atkinson? I like Kenny Atkinson, man. I mean, he literally left because he didn't want to deal with the BS. You know, he does things his way. He's a tough-nosed guy as well. And, you know, he's not going to settle for BS. I kind of like Kenny Atkinson, and he definitely got the most out of his teams before. He definitely got the most out of his teams before. What do we think about Kenny Atkinson? Let me know. Let's see. Quinn says, if they sign Harden again, this franchise is over. Pingboy says, sign and trade James Harden to get Damian Lillard. The GOAT says, I love Nurse's defensive scheme. I agree. That's the one thing. That's the one thing, man. It's like Nick Nurse actually makes his teams play defense. You're not going to see a random game in January where you're going up against the 1 seed and then your team is not playing any defense. And the Sixers, even though they were, top 10 defensively, there were times where, they were out there just standing around. Joel Embiid, as massive, as monumental of a defender he is in the paint, sometimes he just stands there and he just watches around. And there's been a lot of conversation, especially recently, about, can the Sixers defensive scheme work with Joel Embiid, right? A lot of drop coverage, not switching a lot due to the lack of speed there. So it's like, damn, man, could it actually work? But maybe Nick Nurse could draw up some schemes. Maybe he wouldn't stick to the same defensive plan all the time. And think about guys like Jaden Springer. Think about Paul Reed. Think about guys like that. If they already have natural defensive talent, imagine what they could do in the Nick Nurse system. And like I said, Nick Nurse is a savant when it comes to, shooting technique, X's and O's. He draws up these crazy game plans. And, he could probably get these guys to maybe start shooting a little bit better. Maybe he could start getting Jaden Springer to have a nice form, or Paul Reed not to have the most awkward jump shot form in the NBA. Nick Nurse is definitely growing on me. He's definitely growing on me. We're going to take some calls in a little while. I want to pull up an article real quick that talks about Nick Nurse. By the way, his career winning percentage is 58%. You don't usually see that for a guy that's only coached 5 seasons and has been fired by his first team. 58%. He's had 1 losing season. If I'm not mistaken, the Raptors kind of just went downhill in that season anyway, and they had injuries, and they were like, screw it. But yeah, man, I mean, you know, he's got a Coach of the Year to his name. He's got an NBA championship. I like it. Here's an article from NBC's Noah Levick, and he talked about a few main points that I want to highlight when it comes to Nick Nurse. Number 1, and obviously he did beat the Sixers in that buzzer beater game, which was, you know, very interesting, but where's this at, man? 20 years of head coaching experience. Here it is. Nurse's willingness to implement unusual, aggressive schemes that force opponents to adjust has shined in the playoffs. He will blitz ball screens constantly. He'll play a box and one or do anything else he feels might give his team an advantage. Why are people, listen to this, why are people afraid to try something different? Because of the scrutiny that they're going to receive if it doesn't work. AKA stubbornness. Stubbornness. You don't think the other way can be better. Nick Nurse will think outside the box. The Sixers have needed a creative coach like this for a long time. If Ben Simmons was here not shooting the ball and Nick Nurse was the coach, guess what? He would say, start shooting the ball or you're going to sit down. This guy holds people accountable. That's why I like Nick Nurse. $5 super chat from Mr. Roddy Poo. He says, I believe Nurse can work Joel on defense. He had Marc Gasol for a little while. Give me the terrorist defense. Dude, every time the Sixers play the Raptors, you know it as Sixer fans. Even if the Sixers have the better team, like going into that playoff series, right? A couple years ago, everybody knew the Sixers were going to win. But they were up 3-0, and the Raptors still made it a challenging series by winning 2 games. Why? Because they're pests, because they don't go down. Anytime you play the Raptors, you know it. It's going to be an annoying game. Why? Why? Because this guy knows how to scheme a defense. That stops people from trying things different a lot. The game's evolving quickly, man, and somebody's got to be trying some new stuff. It might as well be us. AKA, if Paul Reed is sitting out there, you're not going to play DeAndre Jordan over him just because you're afraid of the scrutiny if it doesn't work. You cannot let Nick Nurse go to Milwaukee. Like I said earlier, he coached the Rio Grande Valley Vipers for 2 years while Morey was the Rockets general manager, and he won the D-League championship. An optimistic slant on Nurse is that his combination of player development and playoff experience could work well in Philadelphia. Sixers have no picks in this year's draft and are not a young team, but could unlock marginal avenues for players like Tyrese Maxey and DeAnthony Melton. Perhaps Nurse could help Maxey become a slightly peskier defender and create more transition opportunities for the speedy 22-year-old. For example, look in the playoffs right now, right? Miami is definitely the underman team, but they have a lot of undrafted guys out there scrapping. Why? Because of their culture. The Miami Heat right now have more undrafted players than lottery picks. Think about that. They're 1 game away from the finals. They're 1 game away from the finals. They have more undrafted players than lottery picks. Imagine what DeAnthony Melton and Jaden Springer and Paul Reed and guys like that would do on a Nick Nurse team. I'm telling you, Paul Reed would elevate to an insane level defensively. Like, Paul Reed is a natural, skilled defender. He's athletic, but he hasn't been taught the game. Nick Nurse would teach him the game. That's what I want to see, man. That's what I want to see. Nurse has spent devising game plans against Joel Embiid. Could be an asset too. Sixers need Embiid to get better against playoff defenses determined to stop him. Nurse's Raptor teams focus on creating turnovers, playing in the open floor, and winning the possession game. Sixers sometimes play way too slow to get too dependent on one thing. For a team with greater top-end talent, small upgrades in the little areas could be meaningful. I agree 100%. Now, the case against Nurse, while Nurse came to Toronto with strong player development credentials, the Raptors have not been impressive on that front. Nurse has been inclined to lean on key players. So again, the one knock is that he has been overplaying his stars. And, you know, when you have health concerns with guys like Joel Embiid or say James Harden comes back, definitely something you need to keep your eyes on. But again, I feel like Nick Nurse was kind of limited with the Toronto Raptors. They didn't have a plethora of guys that I thought, okay, they can really be, you know, contributors in the lineup. Here's a quote from Nick Nurse. He said, when you have a super competitive guy who's playing great and he wants to play up to rest him, just to say, sorry, it's your rest time. We don't care what's happening on the floor right now. It's hard to do. So Nick Nurse is going to push these guys. I mean, hey, I don't think it's entirely bad. Nick Nurse was a sharpshooter in college at Northern Iowa. His 46.8 career three-point percentage is #1 in program history, and he's even published shooting guides and in-depth instructional videos. Get him today. Don't call him up and say, you're not going to Milwaukee. Your flight has been canceled. You are on the way to South Philly to become the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. Do not let this guy go to Milwaukee. Imagine what he would do with Giannis. The guy has published books about shooting. Yes. Yes, please. We imagine Nurse will be fully on board with investing time and resources into shooting development. It's music to my ears, man. Music to my ears. Outside shooting was a problem with this year for the Raptors, who finished 28th in the NBA. Why? Because they didn't have three-point shooters that were that good. The Sixers led the league in three-point percentage, 38.7. And that's with multiple guys who are like afraid to shoot a basketball sometimes. Imagine Nick Nurse. Now, the last part here mentioned, again, is his leadership style. Nurse would often call out players publicly without addressing concerns for the player privately first. After a bad loss to Memphis, Nurse held closed-door individual meetings with players and members of his staff that were described to TSN as intense and confrontational. According to sources, after an altercation early in the new year, Nurse sent an assistant coach home and told him not to accompany the team on an upcoming road trip without the prior knowledge or permission of Masai Ujiri. The assistant missed one game, and Ujiri later smoothed things over, but the relationship between the coaches was described as tense for the duration of the season. So what? How am I mad at that? Am I going to be mad because he sat down and told his guys to stop their crap? I can't be mad at that. Intense and confrontational. That's what the Sixers need sometimes. They're too relaxed. I want a coach who's going to go in there, throw a clipboard on the ground, stomp on it, and say, come on, man, wake up. Why not? I'm not mad about that. How's that a bad thing? Though brutal honesty can sometimes be effective, yes, the Sixers will want to be confident in their next coach's ability to handle difficult moments. That's what they talked about, right? That's what Daryl Morey talked about. They said that they couldn't handle the big moments. They needed a new voice. I like Nick Nurse. I like what he brings to the table. And to be quite honest with you, the only thing is the overplaying the starters for me that has been talked about. That, okay, you can't play Joel 42 minutes a night. We saw that with Doc Rivers. So that's kind of where I'm at, man. Again, there's good and bad about all these candidates. That's why there's pros and cons for a reason. But the Milwaukee Bucks, once again, are going after Nick Nurse. They have their eyes on the target. It is down to the Bucks, the Suns, and the Sixers need to act quick. Now, there's a couple sneaky guys on here that I'm not going to get into today. There's a couple sneaky candidates out there that I like, that are under the radar, but you need a guy that's won if you're going to go in this direction as a team, as an organization. Now, again, if they rebuild, maybe they go with Sam Cassell. Maybe they go with Dave Yeager. But they can't fumble this time, man. They can't fumble this time. And please do not go with D'Antoni. I have a feeling they might if James Harden comes back, and I'm a little bit worried about that. But what does Sixer Nation out there think, man? Shout out to everybody in the chat. Guys, do me a favor. Hit that like button right now. Let's get those likes skyrocketing. Let's get those likes up. Hit that subscribe button. How's everybody feeling? Once again, we will be bringing the coverage all off season long. Any news updates, the coach gets hired, James Harden signs or doesn't, any news updates, we will be bringing them all off season. So be sure to stay tapped in and call up the show, man. 508-924-3784. 508-924-3784. Call up the show. Give me your thoughts. Who do you want to be the next Sixers head coach? Who is your top candidate? Why? Is it Nick Nurse? Do you not like Nick Nurse because he cries and complains and has against the Sixers? Do you like Mike Budenholzer? Do you like Monty Williams? I like Monty as well. I wouldn't be too mad at that hire. I know, again, the Suns have flamed out 2 years in a row. I don't think this year was his fault. They didn't have time to mesh. They had about 7 or 8 games together as a core, and they traded all their depth away. I don't think that's Monty's fault. Also, DeAndre Ayton, he was playing like he didn't care. And I think he wanted to get traded last year. He tried to sign with another team before his offer sheet got matched. I can't blame that on Monty. I go back to that conversation where Monty Williams, that clip that always comes around from this season where, Monty Williams is talking to Kevin Durant. He's not afraid to stand up to him either. I like that about Monty. So there's a lot of candidates out there. Maybe Frank Vogel. He's an underrated one that's on the list. You like Frank Vogel? Give me all your thoughts, man. Call into the show. I want to hear from Sixer Nation out there. Before we get to the phone lines, once again, hit that like button, everybody. Thank you for being here. Shout out to our sponsor of tonight's show, Manta Sleep. Guys, go get your Manta Sleep Mask Pro. This thing is for all the insomniacs out there. You have to check it out, man. True 100% blackout for deep sleep. C-shaped eye cups for unbeatable side sleep comfort. Literally, put this on your head. You can lay on your back, your side, stomach, doesn't matter. This thing is very lightweight, has great ventilation. Your eyes can breathe when you have it on. And, it doesn't just kind of like absorb you and it like gets stuck on your eyes. No, even if you're sweating, who knows, man? This thing is great. I've been using it. I got used to it, and it helps me block out all the distractions, even during the day. If I'm trying to take a nap, the Manta Sleep Mask Pro will solve all of your sleeping issues. So go down to the description, check it out. Click the link, mantasleep.com, and use promo code Philly. Take it 10% off of your order. Go get it now, man, while it's in stock. Manta Sleep is on fire. Speaking of on fire, I need some hot takes, man. I need some hot takes. Who should the next Sixers head coach be? Why? Who do you think? Let's go to the phones, man. Let's open it up. Hopefully, let's see. See if we go back to the phones, man. All right, let's see who we got on the line. Let's go to the 239. Hopefully we got him. 239, what's up?
All right, let's see.
Yo. 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 Wasn't ready, man. Wasn't ready. Guys, if you're calling into the show, have the stream on a separate device. That way you're not lagged and waiting. You know what I mean? Have it on a different device if you can, so that way you know when you're on the line. Once again, 508-924-3784. Numbers on the screen. Let's go to the next one. 856. 856, what up?
Yo, what's good, RB?
Yo, what up, man?
Yeah, so I kind of agree with what you're kind of saying about Nick Nurse. I think he would be a great hire for the Sixers. Hit the three-point shooting, like you said, the Raptors didn't really have those like good three-point shooters. I mean, they had Gary Trent. Well, I don't really know on top of my head, but yeah, you could tell from how good they were this year. They didn't really have those three-point shooters. And also his defensive, how he is defensively, I think that would help the Sixers tremendously, especially against, maybe teams like Boston or even Milwaukee. And I agree with you on that, too. He cannot go to Milwaukee. You cannot let Nick Nurse go to Milwaukee. That would be the worst thing the Sixers team could do because, in my opinion, Giannis and them boys, they're going to go hard this year, especially after all the all the stuff the media saying about them and how they got eliminated. I just think you cannot let Nick Nurse go to Milwaukee. So, yeah, I think that he would be a great pickup for us. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. And when you look at Milwaukee, for example, Mike Budenholzer, right, I would argue that Milwaukee's actually had a couple early exits in the playoffs that they shouldn't have, right? Like, Nick Nurse really hasn't had the guy like Kawhi since he left the Raptors after they won the championship.
Yep.
And you give Nick Nurse that kind of ammunition, you give him the Drew Holidays, the Middletons, and Giannis, I think they're going to be the favorite next year if he goes to Milwaukee.
My concern is I don't know if Harden's going to like it. Honestly, I don't know. I'm torn on Harden. I really, how he went out in Game 6 and 7, that was pathetic. But at the same time, if you lose him for nothing, because, him and Houston, it seems like they're probably going to link up. But if you lose him for absolutely nothing, you bring in Nurse, then what do you do? Because now you're looking at can Maxey really carry that load? I know this is kind of off topic, but I don't know. If Nurse comes in, I don't think Harden's going to like that. And I know the fan base probably wants him gone anyway, but, to me, I think you have to retain that asset because if you just lose him for nothing, then, where does this team go moving forward? I don't know.
I think it's a good, very valid point because right now you're in a sticky situation. It's like, do you bring James Harden back? Do you overpay the hell out of him to give yourself maybe the best chance at contending next season? Or do you say no, you don't pay him $50 million a year, you let him walk, and then maybe you do a sign and trade and get another player in, but maybe you're not as much of a ready contender next year. I think it's a tough decision, man.
Well, the thing is, why would they do a sign and trade? They could get him for free. They have the leverage in that situation. It seems like, I saw a thing with Jalen Green. He was talking about the pros and cons of him going, but, it's James Harden. In that town, he's a god. If he wants to go there, he'll go there. The ownership will let it happen. And that's my problem because with Embiid about to be 30, you can't afford to have a pause year. He's about to be 30 years old.
Well,
you can't just wait around, be the 60, get knocked out, and then second round again because then you're really looking at a situation where, Embiid could just request that trade and this whole shit, everything goes to shit again. I'm sorry for my language, but, this is a make or break situation for the Sixers.
I agree.
You need to retain the asset of Harden, in my opinion. And then, honestly, you maybe run it back. It looks like Boston, I don't know, are they really going to spend $600 million on those two players? To me, I don't think so. Mazzulla probably will go. And I just think you have to capitalize. The way this team ended this year, it was unacceptable. I know the coach, took the blame for it, but they need to get someone in with a strong leadership. And my only fear of Nurse is that Harden won't like it and he'll go. And I know Harden, like I said before, is not looked upon as the greatest hero right now, but, he's an asset. He's still James Harden. If you lose him for nothing, then you put this team in a really dire spot. So, that's what I think, RB.
All right.
I don't know. I love the show. Keep it up.
Appreciate the call, Thomas. Appreciate it. Yeah, I think he makes a valid point, but at the end of the day, there's a couple things I want to respond to with that before we get to the next call. Number one, you cannot make this coaching decision based on a potential player, based on a potential return of James Harden. You have to get your coach. You have to get your guy. That's number one. Number two, I would say this about the situation that the Sixers are in. Okay, if you bring James Harden back, right? He said that the Sixers can be a contender and run it back. Who says that they can be a contender? What have they shown us that, that they can get past second round? Now, maybe if you trade Tobias and somehow you land a valuable two-way wing or an athletic rebounder that can hit 41% from three, maybe, then you can contend and you have James Harden, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and a wing. But to be honest, if James Harden doesn't like Nick Nurse, I really don't care. You're out here to get the best coach for your future. And whether James Harden is or is not going to be a part of that, you have to get something that will reshape your team here. You need to get a good voice. And, again, I don't know that there's proof that James Harden coming back will put the Sixers over the top because we saw it, right? They had the opportunity. It's not like they got plowed by Boston. By the way, if you want me to get real technical here, the Celtics stink. And as I tweeted last night, it's taken a little bit of the sting off that Boston is getting obliterated the way they are. But let's keep it real. They're losing to Jimmy Butler and 8 undrafted guys who have played absolutely heroic. But come on, man. The Sixers should have beat the Boston Celtics. And I'm even more sick that they didn't get it done. They had that team pinned against the wall with 5 minutes to go, and this guy that you want to pay $50 million to couldn't hit a damn shot. Joel Embiid couldn't hit a damn shot. I'm sick. I'm sick, man. The Celtics stink. The best part about the Celtics' demise right now is that Joe Mazzulla is going to stay as their head coach because he made the conference finals. All right, let's go to the next call. Enough of me ranting. Let's go to the 215. 215, what up? Yo.
Hello?
Yo, what up?
What up? Yeah, it's Bob here.
Who?
I was just let's just start off. I'm not a big basketball person.
Hold on, who's Bob?
Well, I am.
Who's Bob?
Bob, me.
Oh, what's up, Bob?
What's up?
All right, let me hear it, man.
Yeah, so to start off with, I think the Sixers definitely got a good shot next year. Only if we do trade Tobias, like you were saying. But we do need that 2 wing. Seriously. And first off, we need to get what I was thinking is we sign Harden, find a way, but then we trade him. We give him an option to get traded, so we actually get a good player along with the trade.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, we can still contend. We just need to build around not Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, and maybe give another player to help Embiid out. Run the floor with. But we really need some people who can play defense, or just people who can play on both ends of the floor. Then I think we'd be good. But we do need a good head coach to begin with.
And who's that?
I'm not sure.
All right.
I want to say.
Hey, it's all good, man. If you don't know, I mean, I agree with your take about defense. Sixers need to get more athletic defenders. That's an absolute must.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough to trade the Toby contract, but they have to do it. They definitely have to.
Yeah. For sure.
Got anything else, man, or is that it?
No, that's it, man.
All right. Appreciate the call, man. Thank you.
All right.
Let's go to the next one. 510. 510 on the line. What up? Yo. Yo. Yo.
Hello?
Yo.
Yeah, so I think that the best option is obviously Nick Nurse, right? Because guys like Doc Rivers did not really hold, his players accountable, I think. But second would be Monty Williams. He's a really good offensive coach.
Okay. I mean, I agree with you. I think those two are the best.
Yeah, and then I think that, honestly, if I'm going to be honest, I think Mike Budenholzer is not the best. Because when it comes to the playoffs, it's just going to be like the old Sixers. He doesn't make adjustments.
Yeah, he kind of got exposed this year. I know he was down, and I know Giannis was banged up, but they should not have lost to the Heat. This was before the Heat really got their traction going. And yeah, Budenholzer, I forget what the stretch was, but I remember he didn't call a timeout, and it was just a bad look. It was a bad look.
And then an underrated coach is actually Frank Vogel. He won a championship with the Lakers, and he's a really good defensive coach. I think he might be a little bit underrated.
Yeah, I like him. I don't think it would be a bad hire. He's definitely been through the ringer for sure, especially with the Lakers.
And also, I wish that the Sixers can also be going for Kenny Atkinson. I mean, he could be really good. I think he can develop young players like Maxey, and he's, really good at spacing on offense.
Yeah. Nah, I like all your picks, man. I think they're all good coaching candidates for sure.
All right. Nice talking to you.
All right. Thanks, man. Shout out to everybody out there. Roddy says Monty does not know how to run an offense for a center. His past shows that. I mean, I can't say that about DeAndre Ayton, though. DeAndre Ayton plays like he's 6'3". He plays like he's 6'3". I can't blame Monty Williams for that. I can't blame him for that. Sixers are too top heavy and need to focus on getting a more deeper athletic young team. Yeah, they have a couple pieces, but they have to play them for sure. For sure. Shazy says, I would take Monty as the only other option over Nick Nurse. Guys, call into the show, 508-924-3784. Call us up. Give us your thoughts on the coaching candidacy. Let's go back to the phones, man. 267 on the line. 267, what up?
Give us your thoughts.
Yo.
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 RB. That's good.
What up?
Well, yeah, about the coaches, I honestly think Nick Nurse is the best for us, but I do have to say I don't agree with the Monty coach, Monty Williams. I think it's just the way he coached against, like, the Mavs. They went out, sat on their home floor, went out, sat against the Nuggets on their home floor, blew a 2-0 lead in the finals. Just reminds me too much of Doc.
I hear you.
And, yeah, like, and one of the things that's, like, a critique of his is his lack of adjustments. Like, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker said they wanted him, or, like, took part in him getting fired. So, obviously, there's something strange there. So,
Yeah,
how do you feel about that?
I don't agree with that. I think the Suns had no chance because their core only played about 8 games together before the playoffs, and all their depth went down, and Chris Paul got injured in the playoffs. So, to be honest, I don't think the Suns had a chance this year. I do agree with the Mavericks series. They should not have lost that, and that's definitely a mark on his career, for sure.
Yeah, and a coach that I think is going under the radar is Chris Quinn of the Miami Heat. I mean, he's a young coach that can really come in and just give us energy and just make the right plays. Obviously, under Spo, probably the best coach in the league right now.
Yeah, I think that
with Nick Nurse, I think our defense will really get picked up. As you said in the stream, I think, like, I'm scared about him overplaying Joel Embiid. You know, he gets worn out, and James Harden if we re-sign him. And I don't think we should re-sign James Harden for $50 million a year. I think if we can get him under like 40, 43 mil, I think that's good. The 50 is just too much.
I can't pay him $43 million. That's not happening. No way. No way.
I know.
Guy didn't come up big.
With the Celtics, Jaylen Brown, I don't think they're going to pay him $50 million. Al, I know you love Al.
Yeah, but here's the thing. What happens with Jaylen Brown has nothing to do with James Harden. It has nothing to do with James Harden, you know? Like, James Harden is his own person, and, you know, you paid James Harden $35 million this last year. I know he took a pay cut. He did the right thing. But, again, he still didn't come up when it mattered most. I know people can say he won a couple games. They were fantastic. But he also lost a couple games with the way that he played. So, I'm not paying anything above $40 million for that more than 2 years.
Yeah, just my last thing. I just think with Jaylen Brown possibly leaving, the Bucks probably doing something with their big four. Both they're all getting old and stuff. Al Horford's another year older. Grant Williams probably going to leave. I just think this could be like an opening for the Sixers if they can do the right trades and maybe get Harden back for a couple more years. I think we could do something with a new coach.
Hey, maybe, man. Maybe. Hey, appreciate the call.
All right. Yeah, thank you, RB.
Appreciate the call, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like you're like you're like spinning the wheels here. You're like running it into the dirt a little bit, in my opinion. If you can get James Harden back on a value deal, then yeah, I'll take him back. I'll compete for sure. But I don't think people understand the guy is going to be 34 years old. And you want to pay him 4 years, $50 million a year. Like, that is absolutely crazy to me. It's like we're asking for another Tobias Harris contract. We're asking for another Al Horford contract that you're going to have to dump in a couple years. And again, we're really going to see here whether Daryl Morey values his friendship or does he value winning? Does he value friendships or winning? To be quite honest with you, man, I think James and Joel figured out a lot this year. I do think regular season wise, James was really, really good. I was supporting him the entire year. And yes, there were playoff games where he played really good. I'm just talking about getting over the hump. And I still cannot get the taste out of my mouth from that game 7 when Joel Embiid and James Harden just needed to go out and put something on the map. They needed to go out and have a statement legacy game, and they didn't even attempt. A lot of people are and another thing that people are frustrated with is that the injury bug still lies, you know? They're only getting older. So right now, Joel Embiid has an insane amount of value. But if he gets injured again, or if James Harden gets injured again, right? James Harden was great the whole year, and then in the last 10, 15 games, he started to get bugged by an Achilles injury, and that bugged him, even in the playoffs at times. So, you know, these guys are only getting older. There's no way I'm paying $50 million to bring back that guy. Now, if he won the championship, it'd be a different story. I don't know, man. I'm not too big into that. $5 super chat from Carlos Rosado. He says, RB salute. Just curious why Nick Nurse over the other candidates. Carlos, thank you. Appreciate that, man. Salute to everybody in the chat. Guys, hit that like button. We need 8 more. Who's going to get us to 100? Carlos, we talked for like a half hour about it, man. We broke it down. Got to rewatch it on the replay. Put it on the way to drive tomorrow. Hey, this show is available, by the way, on all podcasting platforms. So if you want to put it on Apple Podcasts in the car, might as well. Did a whole breakdown. All right, let's go back to the phones and get a couple more takes in here. Let's go to the 609. 609, what up? Yo.
RB, what's going on?
Yo, what's good? Who's on the line?
It's Donnie from South Jersey. What's going on, man?
Donnie from South Jersey. What's up, Donnie?
I just wanted to say once again, thanks for the year, man. Thanks for covering the Sixers for us. You know, us people, especially without the cable, can't always get all the games.
Yes, sir,
you know,
man.
It's big time having those streams, so we really appreciate it.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate that.
And yeah, I was just saying on the James Harden thing, I really, as a player, I don't know how you replace that kind of value in the picks that we've been getting. In the past, we haven't done, you know, a lot of good things with the picks we've gotten, but I am on board with not giving a guy, you know, at that age, $50 million a year, 4 years. So if Harden's got to go, I think that might be the move, but it does make me sad because I really thought he worked well with us.
I mean, he definitely did, but again, in crunch time, they didn't come up in the big moments. You know, him or Joel. It's not just James, but James and Joel did not come up big. You could talk about system, players, fit, whatever it is. Maybe the coach, I don't know. But they didn't get the job done again. And now, you know, they've lost 5 out of 6 years in the second round. Something's got to happen, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, I'm seeing a narrative only on Twitter, but it's kind of a BS narrative of Embiid this, Embiid that, and maybe blow it all up. And I just want to say I could never agree with getting rid of Embiid. I think Embiid and Maxey, that's the future. We need to build from there. And, you know, we can't really do the max deal for Harden, but, you know, thanks a lot for the time in Philly. We appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. I hear you. And I don't know. I don't think they're going to trade Joel. I don't think so. Unless they were wowed by an offer. Unless they were wowed by like a insane offer, like a more than a Rudy Gobert trade. I don't think they're going to trade Embiid. I think they're going to try to ride it with Maxey and Embiid. I think the plan is to try to bring James Harden back. But if that doesn't work, then you're going to have to figure something out. Because you can't stay in the middle, you know? You can't go into next season okay, maybe they can compete. No, you can't do that. You're either going in or you're not. So that's my take on it.
He would sign, if Harden would sign short term, I think it'd be the greatest thing. I think it's the best chance we have winning a championship next year. So I'm hoping for that. And, you know, thanks for listening to me. And like I said, thanks for the streams all year, man.
Yeah, appreciate the call, man. Like I said, James Harden, I mean, we're going to see a lot about him as well. You know, does James Harden want to win, or does he want to get his money and go back to Houston, you know, where they're going to be rebuilding? Lots going to be determined in the next couple months. I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Sixers need to get their coach on board, though, man. They need to get a coach ASAP. ASAP, man. Got the guy right here interviewing. They have a guy interviewing. They have to go out and get it done. Have to get it done. All right, let's go back to the phones. 210 on the line. 210, what's up?
Yo, RB.
Yo, what's up, man?
I see you paying the bill with the sponsor.
Not really, but go ahead. What's your take on the coaching situation?
I say we hire Nick Nurse or Monty Williams. If you can't get Monty, then if you can't get Nick Nurse, then hire Monty Williams.
Okay.
And I say let James Harden go to Houston or wherever he wants to go.
And then what? What's the plan? Who do you replace him with?
The plan?
Yeah, you got to have a plan, right?
Yeah.
Let him go, then what? Like, who are you going to get? Are you going to do a sign and trade, or you going to bring another player in? What's the deal there?
I think sign another player?
Yeah, like
I don't know. I think, sign another player or something.
yeah, I would hope so. I would hope so.
Yeah.
All right, man. Appreciate the call.
Get some, sorry, what?
You know, what'd you say? I didn't hear you.
I was gonna say maybe get some other player or like I don't know.
I know, but who? That's what I'm asking. Like, you said let James Harden walk, but I'm saying who are you going to replace him with? Like, what would your idea be on that?
Maybe Damian Lillard. I don't know, but that's gonna be hard to get him.
Yeah, it'd be a tough trade for sure. I don't know, man. I don't think he's leaving. I don't think he's ever leaving.
Yeah. I think that's all I got.
All right, man. Appreciate the call. Damian Lillard. We're going to go down that rabbit hole again. No, thank you. No, thank you. Oh, man. I don't even know if a Dame and Maxey backcourt would work. I don't know if a Dame and Maxey backcourt would work. Daquan says, stop sleeping on that Rockets team. Next year they have a coach now. They will have a facilitator. They're not winning more than 45 games, Daquan. As much promise as they have, they're not winning more than 45 games. No way. Sorry to tell you. Let's see. We aren't getting anyone better than James Harden, and if he walks, we're in trouble. Wait and see what teams offer first, and if it's too much, sign and trade and pray that he does not go to Houston. I mean, at the end of the day, man, you gotta get some value on this team no matter what. So we'll see, man. It's going to be interesting, for sure. For sure. But once again, at the end of the day, my coaching tier list: Nick Nurse, Monty Williams, Mike Budenholzer, Sam Cassell, Frank Vogel, and Mike D'Antoni. We'll go to one more call, man. We'll get one more going, and we'll see what whoever has to say about the conversation. All right, let's go to the 843. 843, what up?
Yo, what's happening, RB? How you doing?
What up, man? How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. I believe Nick Nurse would be a good coach. Him or Monty. I mean, either one would be good. But I also believe, man, Joel got to step up, man. He got to take the next step, man. It really doesn't matter what coach. If you don't take the next step, we're not going any further than what we've been going. I know people give Harden a hard time for not showing up in that Game 7, but he did give you one game in the series. He took over one game, but your superstar, face of the franchise, cannot disappear in the Game 7.
I agree.
Just can't do it.
Yeah, I agree.
Or you could say he can't lose that the closeout game at home. You got to win the game. I understand, James is James. And James got to come back. He has to come back. To me, there's no other way around it. You gave up so much. You kind of empty the cupboard to get him. But Joel got to step up, and he got to be able to finish strong around the rim. I know he likes to be finesse, but you can't be so finesse, especially in the playoffs.
So
especially in the playoffs, you got to be physical. You got to be a little more physical.
I agree with you there. So to the Harden point, are you willing then to give him whatever it takes to bring him back to the Sixers? Is that what you're saying? I'm just wondering. Like what if he demands 4 years, $200 million? Like what would you say to that?
No. That's where Daryl Morey got to go work his magic. Whatever you got to do, that's your homeboy. Work something out. You jumped out. You jumped out there on the limb to get him here. Y'all got to figure that out, man. But that money like that, no, man. We in a tough spot. We in a very tough spot, man.
Yeah, very tough, man. I mean, you're thinking about the future of this team, not only next year, but many years after, and you don't have a lot of draft picks. So it's going to be one way or the other, in my opinion.
Yeah, man. We in a bad spot. And then also, I think whatever coach you bring in, we have to prioritize developing players, and not only just players, definitely Maxey. Me personally, instead of trading for Harden, I thought we should have traded for Halliburton, because you could have paired him and Maxey. That could have been your future if Joel started falling apart or whatever. But you had your point guard, your two guard. You could have ran those guys, and that definitely would have been for the future. But we're here now, and we got to figure this Harden thing out. The contract wise, they got to figure out $50 million ain't going to cut, especially with not Tobias Harris here too as well.
Yeah.
But that's all I got, man.
Yeah. Hey, appreciate the call. Great take, Span. Shout out to all the callers. Appreciate everybody calling in as always, man. Making this show fantastic. Number one show for Sixer fans, man. We're going to keep bringing the heat, keep bringing the coverage as always. Adrian Navarro with a $5 super chat says Nick Nurse will be the best coach for Maxey, and we have to trade Tobias for an athletic power forward that can defend, rebound well, and not average and shoot 40% from three. My question to you is, who do you trade him for? I think Tobias, the best way to do it is to trade Tobias to a rebuilding team that's going to dump his salary after this year. That's the only team that's going to take $40 million on from Tobias next year. I'm telling you right now. If any other team, if a contending team takes Tobias Harris, then they're trying to lose. No offense against Tobias, but you do not take on that contract for $40 million. Now, if James Harden, say, left and Tobias could then step into that third player role, right? If he could be that tertiary scorer behind Embiid and Maxey, I think that he'd be valuable, but I just don't see him being able to do it consistently. There's nights where Tobias can do it, and then there's other nights where he just kind of fades out, and you forget that he's even on the team. So, it's going to be tough to trade him. Tough to trade him. Daquan says nobody's going to keep taking pay cuts. I agree. And that's why you're in a tough situation. That's why you're in a tough spot. We're going to really see what the priorities are of Daryl Morey, James Harden, and the rest of this team this offseason. I am excited to see who they get at coach, though. I think that'll really tell us a lot. If they get Mike D'Antoni, I think James Harden is coming back, undoubtedly. I wouldn't be egregiously mad at it. It's just not my preference. So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out, man. Mr. Roddy Poo with the $5 super chat. Shout out to him. Once again, he says, though he is injured a lot, maybe Jonathan Isaac, but we stuck with slow foot Toby. Harden belongs in Houston. We're Gucci. Roddy, Jonathan Isaac is the perfect prototype of a player that the Sixers need. If you're watching the playoffs, anybody out there, has been watching the playoffs, Michael Porter Jr. is the exact type of player that these Sixers need. They need a guy just like that. But Jonathan Isaac has been injured way too much. And I'm afraid that he is not going to stay healthy. So definitely a no for me on Isaac, but I like that prototype of a player. So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out, man. But once again, shout out to everyone out there tuning in tonight. Little late night live stream. Shout out to Manta Sleep. Get your Manta Sleep Mask Pro. Go down to the description. Click the link. Use promo code Philly. Take it 10% off. Let that bad boy help you sleep. Appreciate everybody tuning in tonight, man. Just wanted to come at you guys with my coaching preference, my coaching list, who I think the Sixers should go for. Nick Nurse will be interviewing this week, man. They need to get him and lock him down before he leaves that building. Adrian Navarro with a $5 super chat. He says, also need another playmaker. Only one we have is James Harden, and he might leave. We need a solid backup point guard. Hopefully Morey can pull his magic. I agree with the Harden playmaking thing. James Harden and his playmaking ability was crucial to this team developing as an offense this year. But he's got to stay healthy. He's got to show up in the big-time moments, and he's got to play some defense. And I think Nick Nurse would definitely help that. But what does Harden think about him? Who knows? Appreciate everybody tuning in, man. You guys have a great night. Shout out to Sixer Nation. Catch you on the next one. Peace.